So, thank you all for joining this evening. I'll get us started with an invocation and then we can get into our agenda items. Dear God, we express gratitude for the fellowship we share in this meeting. Thank you for the opportunity to come together, collaborate, and support one another in our goal of enhancing tribal communities. Amen.
Amen.
All right. So the first item on my agenda was just to say thank you and congrats for being voted onto the Economic and Social Committee, which I am chairing. And we'll get into some of the details about what the committee is expected to do. And then in the meeting with some brainstorming. So to start off, I wanted to share some of the materials that Director Colston provided me when I started, just to um, kind of put our goals into focus here. So where's my share button? Okay, I sent a request to share, Lisa. Okay. So this is the mission statement for MCIA as a whole. So, the commission works to serve as a statewide clearinghouse for information to identify unmet social and economic needs, which is our committee, and the Native community, support the government education programs for American Indian youth, to support the process of obtaining recognition of state and federal Indian status, and to promote the awareness and understanding of historical and contemporary American Indian contributions in Maryland. And then this is the legislation that established MCIA. MCIA or GOSI? Keith, that's a Keith question.
Not a problem at all. So this is in reference to the way we have been sort of moved around, and a lot of times we'll joke around. We as Indian people, we're no strangers to being moved around, and at times it's been forced, and at times it's been by our own direction. And so this gives you a background in reference to the Maryland Commission on Indian Affairs, how it has moved from one agency to another, and we were fortunate enough in 2008 that we were elevated, and I like to use that word elevated, to the Governor's Office Community Initiatives. What that allowed is to have more of a direct connection in state government, especially when it comes to the opportunity for a governor to make a decision on a petition for Maryland Indian status, which is the equivalent to state recognition in any other state.
Thanks for that.
Thank you.
You had a question, Julie?
No, I just said thank you for that as well.
Okay. All right. So the goal of MCIA to improve the quality of life for the American Indians, tribes, bands, clans, and groups in the state of Maryland. And these are the bylaws. I won't go through all of them. I believe I sent them to both of you so you can read them at your leisure. But I did want to go down to the part that calls out our committee. Here, this is section 6. So the mission of our committee The Economic and Social Welfare Committee is to develop strategies for monitoring businesses, employment practices, opportunities that lead to professions in which Native Americans and indigenous tribal bands, groups, and clans are underrepresented, especially in the areas of math, science, technology, and the environment, and the accessibility to computers. The committee is to monitor laws impacting the economic and social welfare of Native Americans in the state. And so that is pretty loaded, and I've been brainstorming for a while on, what makes up, uh, what are some topics that make up the economic and social welfare of Native Americans in Maryland, and that's something that I can give you the ideas that I've sort of jotted down over the past few months as I thought about this, and then I would really like your ideas too. And um, you if you have ideas already, you can give those on this meeting, or it can be homework for the next meeting. Okay. And so this is the list of current commissioners. Um, and I may have shared that with you already. But if not, I'll get that to you. There is a tribal contact list. I think it is in the process of being updated. Is that correct, Director Colston?
That is correct.
Okay. So, I can share this tentative list with you, just knowing that this list may need to be updated a bit. Um,
Director Colston, can I just ask that that last slide that Commissioner Robinson shared be updated? Because that is for both myself and Commissioner Begay. The names need to be updated and my role needs to be updated.
Understood.
Thank you.
all right. So I'll jot that down as an action item. Uh, okay. And thanks for joining, Madam Chair. I did not see that you were in the meeting. All right. Um, so some expectations right now. Um, I'm hoping that we can have bi-monthly meetings, and that maybe that's something we can take a vote on to see what works best for the group. This is just the initial meeting to kind of kick us off. And so if you want to think about your availability and get back to me, that's okay as well. These meetings are being recorded, as Director Colston let us know. Um, and I will try to take notes, but if you could also take backup notes so that I can present those at the commission meetings. And then I wanted to quickly go over just some other housekeeping items. Um, so the Open Meetings Act is listed on the Maryland Attorney General webpage. Director Colston went over that with us when we started on the commission, and it is you will probably need to read through that information as well. There's a training course on the University of Maryland webpage that you can take and get a certificate, and it essentially goes over the Open Meetings Act and what it is and how it applies. There's also the Roberts Rules of Order, and you may have used those in other forms, but it's essentially a parliamentary procedure to facilitate orderly meetings and decision-making processes, It ensures, participants have a right to participate in discussions. It talks about the importance of a quorum. And then it's just the structure for making motions and voting. Um, so that's all I have on that topic. Um, so the last um, page on here that I wanted to share was Governor Moore's top priorities, um, just to start thinking about how we can implement these in our committee. So his priorities are that we leave no one behind. We're looking at ending child poverty in the state, bolstering the well-being of Marylanders through healthcare, advancing infrastructure, um, to connect Marylanders to opportunities in each other, making the state of Maryland desirable and affordable for everyone, creating creating a safer Maryland by interrupting violence, preventing crime, and protecting the state, making Maryland the greenest state in the country, increasing our economic competitiveness, setting students up for success, and connecting Marylanders to jobs and making Maryland a service state. So these are the priorities that were presented, I believe, 2 years ago, and they have rolled over into this year. So these are priorities that we should, even if we're not meeting all of them, these are priorities that we should try to implement as we work through our committee. Um, any questions so far? Okay. Um, and so now just some general brainstorming just to get you thinking about things that we could take up in our committee and start to put some ideas forward and vote on in future meetings. So under the economics umbrella, um, and these are just some ideas that I've jotted down over the past several months. So maybe highlighting indigenous businesses in the state, giving them some recognition or figuring out a pathway, so that there's more exposure to those businesses. There's a lot of grant opportunities that get posted, and it would be wonderful to connect the communities with those grants, or even opportunities to learn how to um, do some grant writing. Um, there's technology and innovation, which is present in the bylaw for our committee. There are ideas within climate, energy, and nature that we could expound on. There's all sorts of fiscal health or healthcare, or infrastructure type things that we could look at. Um, Education is a big one. It's in the priorities. It's a lot of the commissioners have, their background is in education. So this is one that comes up for us quite a bit when we brainstorm things that we can do. Um, and entrepreneurship kind of falls under the same, the indigenous business aspect, but I added that on here. And then under the social umbrella, um, looking at maybe networking or volunteer opportunities. Our commission has the ability to do fundraising. Tier or Director Holston, could you give us a little background on the fundraising opportunities and how we're allowed to do that?
Sure. And thank you for the opportunity to expound on that. So within the legislation that created the Maryland Commission on Indian Affairs in 1974, but more so in 76 as a standalone commission, we were given the opportunity to receive any types of funds, state, federal, private, really across the board, any funding opportunities that are there. We're able to receive. One of the things that we are always mindful of is one thing to bring the monies in. It's another thing how that money is kept, who keeps it, who's in charge of it, as well as the way it may be spent. And so a lot of times we have to be very specific about these situations. You know, memorandums of understanding are very important. They play a key role in having these types of discussions, where these monies will be held. There are times that we are, have the ability to work with friends of the Maryland Commission on Affairs when that opportunity presents itself, or it will go into a line item budget, or there'll be a line item for particular monies that may be brought in. So it could be anywhere from a $50 donation that somebody may hypothetically or in the past have done, where we have a commissioner who goes out, speaks on behalf of the commission. We, of course, know that we're not to be paid for that, but to receive a donation or even possibly stipends for that action is possible. And so we have to make sure that with each and every administration that we work with, that they clearly understand that. Now, here's where this can get a little funny, or when I say funny, meaning that, a bit cloudy or unclear, is when what are the reasons why they are making these donations? Is it be on behalf or some type of lateral situation or a way to step up? Is it some type of situation that is using the governor and one of his commissions or one of his agencies? And this is where we're mindful, we are careful. This is where the MOUs come into play. This is where proper authorizations are given. So even though that we by legislation can take in any amount of money from basically any entity, it is the reason behind that donation or stipend or financial opportunity that's in play or that could be in play. And so we never want to get a pay to play situation, as they like to call it. So we just have to be mindful about this. And so when you're out there doing the work of any committee, and really, we call that the groundwork of the commission, because that's exactly what you're doing. I look at that as not definitely as a compliment, because without your expertise, without your contacts, without your backgrounds, that groundwork probably wouldn't get done or more as efficiently. And so we really depend on you as committee members, and this is why you're voted in, because we don't want to see a pay-to-play situation. We don't want to see personal agendas. We don't want to see personal opportunities on your own, because we're here to work for our people, our tribal people, and work for the betterment of the state of Maryland through the Maryland Commission on Indian Affairs. So I apologize if I'm being a bit long-winded, but it's really important that we lay down this great foundation of who we are and what we do, and that way you won't leave here. You'll leave with questions, but we want you to leave with as much clarity as possible, because Commissioner Robinson has done a great job of presenting you with enough homework, just with the 3 to 4 documents that she's talked about, and to prolong my answer to what she's asked. When you look at the 10 priorities, just those priorities alone, when you go to the governor's page and you look at the priorities and accomplishments like what I'm looking at, you click into those and you really get a very clear indication of what some of these things may be saying. So when you're looking at making Maryland the greenest state in the country, what all does that really involve itself in? And this is where your committee can really access and utilize perhaps what are the opportunities for our tribal communities to partake in the agricultural and economic opportunities that are there, or the grant opportunities that exist. When you're looking at setting Maryland students up for success, we're talking about STEAM and STEM programs, but also the Indian education opportunities that are there. So how does that play into the social and economic opportunities overall for a particular tribal community or tribal communities throughout the state. And so I'll stop there because I can really go on and on and on because I really love sharing information with you. But that just gives you an idea of just how much work is involved, but the opportunities and the outcomes is always the milestones that we're reaching for. I'll stop.
Appreciate it. And I've heard it a few times, but it helps to hear it over, and I'm sure our new committee members appreciate the information as well. So those are just the ideas that I've jotted down so far. I'm sure there are countless other ideas, um, and we may not even choose something from the list that I've given. It's just an idea, just throwing some ideas out there just to get us thinking of something that we could work on this year. So, with that, that is essentially all I wanted to present in this meeting. It's just a kickoff for our committee members, just to give you the materials that we've gone over so far, and just to brainstorm this information, um, to give you some homework until the next meeting. Um, are there any questions or comments?
Well, I have my hand raised, but I just want to ask Committee Chair Robinson if you don't mind, if we could just do a round of introductions, and I apologize not requesting that earlier. And if we could just do some introductions, and I'd love, out of respect for our chair, if Madam Chair Thomas would go first with her introduction.
Absolutely. Thank you guys for having me as part of your committee meeting tonight. My name is Tiara Thomas. I'm a role member of the Piscataway Conoy tribe. I have been the chair. This is my second year as the chair. It's been great. I'm here to listen and to be able to help you guys as the committee do the work of the committee and make sure that we're able to take that back. I have a broader idea from the entire commission on how to continue to move Indian people forward in the state of Maryland and being a liaison between our communities and the state agencies. And I work really closely with Dr. Colston to do that. So I'm always thankful for the work that he puts in on behalf of our commission as well as Lisa and helping with the emails and getting things out. So I always appreciate and make sure I give that gratitude to you too as well. Um, and I'm excited to see what you guys come up with this year.
Thanks, Madam Chair Thomas. So I'm Tiara Robinson. I'm your committee chair. I want this to be a very collaborative effort amongst us. Um, and yeah, I'm like Tiara, I'm hoping that we come up with some great ideas and great projects to advance the indigenous people in the state. Uh, Lisa, did you want to give an intro?
Lisa, you're muted.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Thank you all for joining and welcome. My name is Lisa Woodfolk. I am the operation coordinator for MCIA, and I'm here to help you in any way that I can.
Shannon?
Hi, I'm Shannon Harley. I'm a member of Piscataway Conoy tribe. I'm very excited about this opportunity and can't wait to get started. I have a quick question about the education part. I was wondering if the Title VII program was still going on, and if so, is there a way that we can expand on that to like different counties, or is it something that like the education program we have to start kind of like fresh?
Madam Chair, would you like to chime in on that, or would you like
Yeah,
for?
sure. I, I can take that one if you want me to, Commissioner Robinson.
Yep.
So we do have an education committee as well. Right now, Title VI is only in Charles County. Baltimore City, Montgomery County, Prince George's County, all no longer have programs. But it's not something that we can't look at making sure that we've actually been trying to have those conversations. The requirement is actually on the district and the parents. You have to have 10 families that express interest, put together your Indian Parent Committee, and then the district has to be able to support that as well. And that support usually comes through a program coordinator, and then putting together that advisory board, your bylaws and everything for that particular district, because the federal funding actually goes to those districts. So I think that one of the ways that we can do some of that work is putting together those informational sessions, pulling together town hall meetings to let parents know how to go about that process, and understanding that it is a grant through the federal government and that all of the requirements that are required for that. I've been the IPC chair in Charles County for the last 5 years. So I am very well informed on that entire process. And I've worked with Baltimore City and Baltimore County on their processes as well.
Great.
They no longer have the program, but they've gone through the process.
For PG County?
Baltimore.
Oh, Baltimore City had it. After COVID, they didn't have the staffing for it anymore. And then BIAC tried to pick up the grant in collaboration with the city. But again, it's a grant process. There's the grant management. It's all of those pieces that have to come along with it. And one of the biggest things is not just the cultural class. And a lot of people see that as the front facing part, right? It's the cultural class because that brings in the community volunteers, but it's also those academic services and supports that students are supposed to have because it is an education program. And so those are the areas that we have to strengthen with the districts to make sure that we're not just providing the cultural education. And in Charles County, that's been the work that I've really pushed. We have gone in 3 years from $5,000 to this year, our allotment was over 30,000. So just really making sure that we're having students fill out the form and that the forms are following students from school to school, and that we're looking at for students who have 2 or more races listed, are we asking those questions of what are the races and collecting the information, because you have to have the student numbers to support it. And we know Prince George's County and Baltimore City and Baltimore County all have the numbers. It's about the work with the districts as well.
That's enlightening. Okay. So we may have to invite you back to another one of our meetings to kind of get into the weeds a little bit, so we can see exactly what we would need to do, if that's something that the committee wants to take up.
So for
And
the
from the
information
chair,
of, well, I was just going to say for the information of each and every committee, the chair of Maryland Commission on Indian Affairs is an ex officio for each and every committee. So whoever the chair may be, we have Madam Chair Thomas. She has the opportunity to be a part of any committee meetings that take place under MCIA.
Thank you, Dr. Colson. And I was going to say, I think that Commissioner Robinson, this also may be a really good collaboration between this committee and the Education Committee, and looking at it twofold. So maybe linking with Commissioner Dunmore to also kind of talk a little bit more about how we can look at maybe doing some of those informational settings. I don't know if you were able to join the MSDE call we had last week, but there was some really good information that was shared there as well. And I did have my hand raised because outside of just the education piece, I think that it's very timely to be looking at what are we seeing from a financial standpoint and a socioeconomic standpoint, with all of the changes that are happening in the federal government and how that's going to impact Maryland and Marylanders. And that's through education. You know, like today, Ways and Means is hearing about Medicaid and Medicare and SNAP benefits is under the Agricultural Committee. So all of these things are happening right now that are really going to affect Marylanders, and it's going to affect in those places of, we're not just talking about healthcare. That also is like the fourth largest funder for most public school districts is Medicare. So how are these things going to continue to impact Marylanders and especially American Indian Marylanders as we are looking at some of these programs and benefits that may be cut based on the budgetary changes that are coming out of the federal government? So how can we relay that information to communities? How can we activate communities to make sure that they know and staying aware of the changes that are coming and how that's going to impact us? I think would be a great thing for this committee to kind of think about as well.
Did we miss any introductions?
I think I'm next. Can you hear
Julie.
me? Hello, everyone. My name's Julie Hawkins Ennis. I am a member of the Piscataway North. I'm retired Department of Homeland Security. Once worked for the United States Secret Service and the United States Attorney's Office. I'm very active in the community as far as Southern Maryland history is concerned, of which I like give information on both Black and Indigenous, our Black and Indigenous history in Southern Maryland. Thank you for electing me. I look forward to helping out and trying to do my best to bring forth ideas and making the community, especially the Maryland community, a better place for the Indigenous and Black. I work on both sides, but for our Indigenous people of Southern Maryland. And Maryland. Somebody just got on me. I shouldn't say Southern Maryland. But I do have a question. Because I'm looking at all your points of what we will be working to better. I just got information that only 33% of, they say Black, but I'll often wonder if it's both Black and Indigenous students aren't reading up to 4th grade level. So I'm thinking that's the kind of things we would, try to better or try to enhance through, I guess, this committee. That's my question.
So the answer to that question is that we definitely don't want you to be feeling like you're in a silo. We do want you to be very specific in what you're working on so that there's a production, meaning that a lot of times, even as a commission as a whole, we see the brush fires, but we're not seeing the entire forest on fire. And we have to be able to, again, battle those, to take on those battles in a very specific and structural manner. That's where, with our committees, once you start making some decisions and your votes as a committee, you turn those recommendations up to the commission to see how can we best utilize the decision-making or the things that you're working on. And I don't want anyone to feel or to give a facade that once you make a decision, that's exactly what the commission is going to do. Because sometimes we do have committees in the past and other places that's what their feeling is. The decision you make is exactly what's going to happen. And when it doesn't happen, people get very turned off by that. And we don't want you to do that. This is why the groundwork is so important. And the ideas that you come up with is based on, again, what you have found out, researched, what you have discussed with other people in other places throughout the state of Maryland, and bringing it and focusing on tribal people. And so when you're looking at, okay, is there a discrepancy there? If that's a discrepancy, even though it might specifically not be something that you're working on in the 3 or 4 areas or topics that you have, that's something that you can truly pass on to, for instance, our education committee, where that could be a specific topic that they work on as well. So we don't want you to work in silos, but we do want the committees to be specific in what they're working on. And so this is why it's important. So when you're looking at the top priorities, when you're looking and talking to tribal communities and talking to your own communities as well, and then you're looking at the various websites that we definitely want you to really get used to, the governor's website, Maryland Commission on Indian Affairs webpage, the webpage that's within the governor's Office of Community Initiatives website, the other coordinating offices. And then looking at, well, what is Governor Moore and his administration doing? Well, let's look at his economic development plan, and what is he focusing on that we may or may not be, hypothetically, being left out of that wherever the other people be included. And this is really something I want to express with a lot of weight, is that we need to make sure that when people speak about equality and inclusion, that's not one or two groups. That's always should include tribal communities. And so there are specific situations that we can attain or that we can apply for that other people cannot. And this is where we have to educate people why those situations are. But whenever there is inclusion that people speak of, and they don't say tribal people, they don't say Native Americans, they don't say American Indians, they don't say indigenous peoples, there's where we have to raise our voices. And this can be from the committee level to the commission level and all around. I give long answers to questions. I can give you a very short no, but I also like to follow up with dialogue with it. So
Thank you very much. I love the dialogue.
So I'll give I think I'm the last one to give an introduction. So Twat, Wakatinete, Gane Githre, Wakatinete, Yahweh. I speak to you in my Skure language. I am Tuscarora and Lumbee, so I'm not indigenous to the state of Maryland. But believe me, I have a fortitude and a desire to do whatever I can. And I've been doing for 18 years in this position, actually going on 19. And so one of the first things that I was asked to do was to assist in the recognition process for the Piscataway people. And when I say Piscataway, I mean Piscataway Conoy Tribe, Piscataway Indian Nation. And that was the goal when taking this job. And so along with that, then there are those secondary goals, or now that those goals have been attained, it's what should be done across the board as well. And so I very much enjoy the opportunity. I'm one of the few people that may say that they love their job, because I do, because I work directly with my people, tribal people. If there's anything and everything that I can do for you, I will, from a professional and position standpoint. I will provide you with facts. And if you ask me a question, I will do my best to provide you with an intelligent answer. If I cannot provide you with that, then I will ask you for a little bit of grace and a little bit of time, and I will provide that answer to you, hopefully within a 48-hour time period. If not, you'll know it's a little bit tougher. I'll stop there, and I really appreciate your volunteerism and the opportunity to work with you.
And I'm gonna just follow up before Commissioner Robinson wraps us up for the evening and say, I think that for all of you guys, this is an opportunity for you to reach outside of the bounds of Southern Maryland, outside of the bounds of Piscataway Conoy, and really talk to tribal people all over the state and really learn more about tribal people in the state, people who are indigenous to the state, people who have moved to the state. I think that it's a great way for you to strengthen your bonds within the community. And I just love that. I love that. And that work is fulfilling because you really get to get a much wider breadth of what are other people facing, because what we're dealing with in Southern Maryland looks a little different from the Eastern Shore, looks a little different from Baltimore, looks a little bit different from Frederick. So I think that it's a really impactful work to be able to reach outside of your community, but still within your community.
And we'll definitely need to reach out to other communities. I invited recommendations from the other commissioners to get people into our committee outside of Southern Maryland, because I recognize that we have to represent all the equities of Indigenous people in the state, and I didn't want to have such a narrow focus with just Piscataway participants, but I didn't get any recommendations, so we'll reach out as we brainstorm our topics and make sure that we're including those communities as well. So that reaches the end of my agenda, and we are almost at time. If there's any other questions or other discussion that you would like to have on this meeting, we can spend a few minutes on that. Questions, comments, concerns?
I would just ask that if the committee members can utilize a bit of hierarchy here. If you can reach out to your committee chair first and foremost, And so that way you're working collectively as a group and keeping each other formed. And then Commissioner Robinson will then utilize Lisa and myself as the administrative staff and keeping our chair in tandem with what is taking place and what's going on.
Thank you, Director Colston.
I
Anyone
just
else?
want to say I'm very grateful for this opportunity and can't wait to learn and reach out and meet other tribal members from all over the state and try our best to sit there and make it the state a little bit more better for our tribal, well, indigenous people in whole. But I do have one more question and everything. Um, so like this weekend, I was planning on going to the Baltimore American Indian Center. Um, I'm guessing like that might be a good place where well, more than likely there are other different tribes there. Is there like anything specific like that I can or cannot say or like ask their opinion about?
So I would definitely encourage you to, introduce yourself as who you are and let them know specifically that you are serving on the committee here and working towards, tribal people overall. I think there's sometimes we get a bit of territorial, and because that's just our way as tribal people anyway. Yet in today's time, we might get territorial in a negative way, and sometimes that might be a perception by some. And so just be very open and upfront. The majority of the people that are there are going to be Lumbee, yet they service any and all. Not only the Baltimore American Indian Center, if you get a chance to visit with Native American Lifelines, which is the other tribal community and tribal organization that's within the Baltimore metropolitan area. Um, just be upfront, provide the information that you can, and where you're there to seek out answers to questions that will again serve the interests of your committee.
Okay, thank you.
I would make sure you call them before showing up over the weekend to see what their hours are, if they have someone there, because they are limited in staff. I do know that. And as well as I would encourage you to even get to know the other commissioners, because Commissioner Kenny Maynor is the liaison for the Baltimore metropolitan area and communities.
Great,
And
great.
Commissioner
Yeah.
Robinson can help you out with that.
Okay. Yeah, Carrie is very sweet. I talked to her a little bit.
And this is going to be great for how what you do and the resources we might not be aware of, or even the individuals in specific areas that we could be speaking with, partnering with. Those are the kind of things that when we're looking at committee members, board members, commissioners, it's your background and expertise and contacts, the people that you work with that will be a positive influence or a positive connection. Those are the things that we want to know about, because for instance, Lisa, myself, even though we're the administrative side, it wouldn't mean that we know,
Slow down,
all
Jess.
these great people that are out there to speak with. And that's where you as a committee member and committee member Eunice, if I'm saying that correctly, this is where you're going to be so impactful in the work and the production.
Thank you so much, Director Colston. All right. So we are winding down in the time. Any last minute questions or comments before we close the meeting? All right. Well, I move that we end the meeting. Is there a second?
I second.
I second.
All right. All in favor of ending the meeting? Aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Any abstained? Lisa, have you recorded the vote?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. And with that, we can close the meeting.
Take care, everyone. Pleasure. It was a
night.
pleasure
Thank
meeting
you.
all of you.
Night.
Good night,
Bye.
everyone.
Nice
Have a
meeting
good evening.
everybody.
Good night.
Oh, it's him. Hit him right here. He's still going. He ain't even stopped.
In my meeting.
He didn't stop. I'm sorry, y'all. We just saw a car accident. If I'm still
As long as you're not in